Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I hope everyone is doing well. I'm a little off center. Oh no. Okay, that's a little better. Okay, hi folkses. I hope everyone's week was going well. Has been going well. Will continue to go well into the weekend. I know this week was a little off kilter. We should have had Writing Wednesday, but we did not. I had a family emergency that I had to assist with. Everybody's okay, so no harm done lasting. So I did want to kind of, how do I want to put this? I wanted to kind of give a little bit more of a rundown on how I'm going to use these 3 writing streaming days. Because I think I'm finally settled on how I want them to kind of be themed. So Monday's stream was called Meandering Mondays. That will continue to be a series. Meandering Mondays is where I will be kind of taking y'all on a traipse through the autistic mind garden. We'll start with a springboard topic. It could be absolutely anything. I'll try to keep it somewhat writing affiliated at this point, but it could literally be anything. And I will then, I have questions about said springboard topic, and I'll go through them live, recording my Google Chrome so that y'all can see exactly how the autistic telephone brain goes, because it can go wild. So if you're interested in that, that series will be Meandering Mondays, and that will always be on Monday. Writing Wednesdays, what I had planned for this coming Wednesday, this last Wednesday, and what will be on this coming Wednesday, is more like metadata about writing itself. So rather than something that's more like actually sitting down and writing, or actually creating, that's going to be more like the theory, like my thoughts and my processes on actually writing things. It won't be as much creative so much as procedural. And then Fictitious Fridays is where the writing will happen. And so that's what we've got going on today. Now, I do need to provide a little bit of background here. The topic that I chose for today's Fictitious Fridays, rather than some random writing exercise, I've been kind of wanting to get back into my world building for a D&D campaign that I've ran 2 or 3 times now. But essentially, it's the Tears of Kairos campaign. The world is called Zrail. And so what I've got here, I know this doesn't show up very well in the dark mode, but this is kind of how I'm organizing my thoughts across actually trying to get this world and campaign story and plot and everything put together for eventual publication. This is a long time in the making. I started running my first Tears of Kairos game in the summer of 2020, and it's only grown in depth and scope since then. So what I'm doing here, and this is kind of a process sort of thing before I get into the writing, but the way I'm making this work for me is I know I have an idea of how I want things to be organized in the main book. So that's why it's a 1 start here. So this is kind of like utilizing an outline, but it's in a Google Sheet. It's in a spreadsheet format. And this is allowing me to make notes of things that I know I need to continue working on, like research and development here. These are 2 different things. But it's also allowing me to link the individual docs rather than having to consistently come back through here. It's all in 1 folder, but I'm having them linked in the sheet so I can just go directly where I need to go. So that's kind of the overview there, the umbrella of the entire scenario. What I want to actually work on today, though, and allow me to explain really quickly. This section here is stuff that has already been included in the campaigns that I've already run. These are locations and elements and different settings within the world itself. So these are already pretty much fleshed out up here, and various notebooks and things everywhere else. I don't need as much work on these apart from just sitting down and codifying them. However, there are 2 areas here and here that, based on feedback from my players in a couple of the campaigns, they wanted a little more like internal world stuff rather than plane hopping to other intellectual property. So what I want to do is actually start working on these in this Fictitious Friday. Literally world building them from the ground up. And I hope that this is enjoyable for you guys. I have no idea where it goes from here. You can see my notes here, and I'll zoom in just a little bit so it's a little easier to read. A little bit more. Okay, so my notes here, basically I want to have I'm a big fan of Magic the Gathering, so these are kind of pinging off of that like idea. Zoena's Sorrow will be kind of an Ixalan-esque outlying island. You can see that these headings are all the lost islands of the Nest being the main, like the in-world name for the world. So this is going to be a dinosaur island, very much Ixalan flavored, and maybe also pinging off of the concept of Ixalan being a dinos versus vampires sort of civilizations. Having vampires also be an aspect here. So the main theme there is in world detailing. Gynos is one of the gods. His domain is knowledge, like science and history, rather than like more esoteric stuff like how to deal with people and government. He's a book guy. Gynos is a book guy. And I read a Tumblr treatise years and years and years ago, talking about how with the spell True Resurrection, you could theoretically recreate extinct civilizations or extinct animal populations. So that's kind of like the secret sauce there for Zoena's Sorrow, is they're literally in honor of Gynos and the mother goddess Zoena, to undo what the bound father god Kairos did. Was apparently Kairos destroyed a bunch of like dinosaurs in the earliest days of the Nest, the world, and so these Gynos devotees are essentially allowing themselves to be transformed via true polymorph into what they believe the first children being the dinosaurs and similar things, would have looked like, and then breeding and growing a population as those creatures. So it's gonna be fun. And so the vampires maybe being the failures, the first failures, and so now they're wanting to like claim their birthright and take over what's left of their land. The Well of Shadow is this one I'm not entirely sure about. You can see I've got a lot of ideas here and not a lot of like nailed down concepts. Again, pinging off of some Magic the Gathering type stuff. I want this to be maybe a little Innistrad-esque, maybe not so mopey, not so morbid, but maybe have some New York or New Orleans flair. New Orleans flair. However, I'm not entirely sure how I want it to be accessed. I don't want it to be just like stumbled across, and I do want it to be in a cavern, but it should also be an island. And so I'm thinking about like thinking of a well as like a place where water flows in and pools. So why not a maelstrom? That's kind of where, and I'm still ruminating on that. I'm not entirely 100% positive because I like my stuff to feel real, or like the science could support it. One of the things that I want to do is, and it's been a while since I've gotten into this sort of phase of literally world building from the ground up. But one of the things that I'm going to do is literally come in here and just start spitballing ideas, and see where the writing takes me. I got that. Oh God, go away. I love tabs, but I don't like that it's yelling at me. Okay. So I think I want to start with, if it'll load for me, I think I'm going to start with Zoena's Sorrow. I think I have more ideas for that today. So I think we're going to start there. So we will title. Okay. Right. And then as soon as that's good to go, grab the link. There we go. Please ignore this. We're gonna get copy link, grab it here, and drop it. Boop. Beautiful. All right. Okay, so now that's there, and I'll always be able to get. Why is it not centered though? There we go. Much better. Okay, so this is kind of where I'm gonna start, and I'm just gonna grab that and bring it straight over here as placeholder. Okay, so the things that I know I need are, zoom in, and I hate Arial. Let me fix this. I want, where's Spectral? There you are. Come back. Spectral normal. Let's make it be size 12, and then update to match. All right, cool. Now I can focus. All right. So the things that I know I'm gonna need are generic generic landscape features and size. We're gonna need governmental structure at the very least, potentially economy, vampires status, and what's the word I'm looking for here? Correction. And dinosaur first children. Description, stats, and variants. Okay. Also the let me see here, the process. What is the true polymorph process ritual ceremony? Okay. I can work with that. So now, yeet, that goes away. All right, and I'm just gonna start spitballing and see what we come up with. My whole process here just kind of devolves into whatever shows up gets kept until we know we're not using it, and then it gets put in like a deleted scene section. Because like I'm a firm believer in never completely deleting anything you spend time on. Just save it, because you never know when you might be able to use it later. So for this, I'm feeling like it needs to be very much like Isla Nublar. Like it needs to be straight up like Isla Nublar from Jurassic Park. So I want the map in my face. I want the map in my face. Alright, I want this. More of a topographical map rather than the, like, the pitch map. That's what I want. I feel my voice leaving me. It's not great. There we go. This is what I want. As soon as it decides to behave. That's a big file. Let's go open a new tab. Yeesh. No. You lied to me? Let me try it again. No. Okay. Alright, I guess I'm gonna have to go here then. So I just want just the image. I've turned the music down a little more, just to... I keep getting, like, copyright alerts. They're not actually pinging me for... There we go. It's not actually pinging me for anything because I'm not monetized. I won't be monetized anytime soon. But I'm just trying to keep it a little bit lower so that I don't have to keep staring at the little copyright alert things every time I open my YouTube. So, okay. That's not helpful. Can I do this instead? There we go. Get a little more control on my zoom. Okay. So, what I'm looking at here, that's the main volcanic crater there. This was man-made. I remember that. So I'm mainly getting inspiration here for like the structure of the island itself. If I'm gonna do an island that gives these vibes, I need to keep the same sort of like climatic structures. So what we've got here appears to be like a central ridge line, and then coastal ridges as well. This isn't really central. This is like... Okay, so it looks like the island itself is higher in elevation up here, and it slopes down. But it does have like a channeling effect with these ridges. So you can see that's a ridge there. So it's like a this. It's coming out like this. So because the interior plains is all here. This is the river. So that's like literally going down like this. Okay. It's been a while since I looked at like weather construction, but I think I can work with this. So let's go with Esk. We're gonna have if I'm not gonna do an exact rip-off here, because this pretty much just looks like somebody took South America, like the mainland South America, and scaled it down. That's pretty much the vibe I'm getting here, and it seems to be following a similar like geographical structure for that, because we know like Colombia and Ecuador are all mountainous like this, and then you've got like the Bablas with Argentina and Chile down the center. This would be equivalent to Brazil over here. Okay, I'm just gonna alright. If it's esque, then it doesn't have to be exact. So let's take inspiration and just go. So we're gonna have, I think I want it to be mountain central, sloping jungles. And then because it needs to be a self-sufficient island biome, supporting a population of dinosaurs and humanoids. How big is this? What am I looking at? 30 miles across almost 3 squares. So, really? 1, 2, yeah, okay. Okay, alright, so let's just look at the main chunk here. So 1, 2, 3. So each block is about 10 then, right? Almost each block is 10. So let's go across the width here. Where's the widest? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These cannot be miles. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 120 miles across. That's a 2-hour drive, even at highway speed, and they're not going to be hitting high. There ain't no way. Ain't no way. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 160 miles north-south? Or almost 160? Ain't no way. I'm thinking back to all the movies. Ain't no way. Because, like, we know... Sorry, I'm about to go real ham over here. We know that in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, they landed here, they drove up here from the beach where they were loading the dinos. They drove up here to the whole main park here, and then they had to go up here to get the, or no, where is the this would be the this would have been the control shed, because it was up on the foothills too. So like this is the control shed, and then Owen and the crew of Jerk Faces headed up like in this sector to try to get Blue. So, okay. Alright, here we go. 1, 2, 3. There's no way they took a 2-hour jog up here to get Blue and made it all the way back down here before dark. Ain't no godforsaken way. No way. I don't believe that. I do not believe that. Because, like, we know that the lava hit here first, and then it, like, skirted around to come down the plane. Like, all the pyroclastic flow was coming down this way. Because they fell off of this cliff. Like, in the gyro ball, they fell off of this cliff. Right? Because they swam up over here. And then how the hell did they... How the hell did they get all the way back over... 1, 2, 3. Wait, let's go on this road. Let's go on this road. This is the road, right? Yeah, let's go on this road. So, it would have had to go up here, because they landed on this bit. Okay, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They fell off, and they swam ashore over here. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They would have had to jump over here. Why is there a transport road that goes all the way over here? Whatever. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I'll cut that one off. 4, 5. Either way, there's a... So, Owen and Claire and I forget the geek dude's name. They would have covered almost 50 miles minimum after falling off the cliff in the gyro ball, swimming ashore, to get back to the ferry before all the dinosaurs were loaded. This doesn't make sense. This island is not that big. This is a lie. This is a lie. This is not true. What is happening? None of this is accurate. This is bugging me. This is bugging me. Base map complies with international map accuracies. Bullshit. Bullshit. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm too much of a geek. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. So let me think. Let me think about New Orleans for a minute. That's not what I want. New Orleans is for the other one. Hang on. Did I have any other inspiration here? No. I didn't have any other inspiration. Okay, so I need inspiration for, like, a tropic... So, what? Oahu? Like the big island of Hawaii? Maybe that's the only... Okay. Huh. I'm gonna figure this out. Welcome to World Building with NASA, where it is nothing but chaos and craziness. Okay, so this is 20 kilometers for... Let me measure here. That's like my thumb. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-ish. So what was that? 160 kilometers to miles. What do we get? So 100 miles. Roughly 100 miles. Okay. And then across the widest part. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so what is that? 120? So like 100 by 75 miles. So 100 by 75 miles. Because I know Hawaii has... What's the population? There we go. Population density. Or full population. Okay, so 2020 population census is about 200,000 individuals. Okay. Yeah, alright. This can work. So, yeah. About 100 by 75. Jorah, are you gonna live, buddy? And we know that the Big Island can support about 200,000 people. So let's go with, if we're talking just humanoids, sure. Now what about adding dinosaurs into the mix? Let's say a third a third of the population taken away. Let's go with, say, a third of the population of that numbership is still humanoid. The rest would be already either vampirized or dinified. So do my numbers here. What's a third of 200k? What is that? So about 60,000 people. 60,000 people is about, hang on, I'm gonna dox myself just a little bit here. It's not really doxing. Monroe, Louisiana population. I don't live in Monroe, but that's like the nearest big city. Okay, I was right. I knew I was right. So this is the closest big city to me, and it's still only like 46,000 people. So yeah. That's about what I was envisioning as far as like size and like social structure. That's about as much as I could see actually having functional. Okay. And so then for dinosaurs, I wonder if this is the sort of stuff that Michael Crichton was thinking about, honestly. Alright, so I want to look at like an elephant preserve, I think. Yeah. Elephant reserve. Like this. So I need to see like how, like, what's the population support? Okay, how much to keep an elephant? Just, I don't need dollars, I need like, I don't need dollars. How much food? There we go. So 300 pounds of vegetation daily. Okay. So if we're looking at vegetation for the mainline herbivores, let's round it up even and say like what, 500 pounds of vegetation. So large herbivore, no, let's do it this way. Pounds of edible vegetation jungle square meters. See what that pops up. That doesn't help me. That doesn't help me. Well, okay. Temperate rainforest. Trying to think how to, I might be getting too deep in the weeds here. Weeds. Okay, let me try just, let me go back to this. This looks like, let me zoom out a little. Alright, so just looking at the main area here, and knowing that this is grassland, and this is grassland. So, hang on 1 second. My little thermometer here is going to help me measure. That fits perfectly at this resolution. Alright, so I've basically got 1.5 thermometers of grassland compared to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, six of solid tropical jungle vegetation or high altitude vegetation. Okay, so 1.5 to 6. You can even say it's rounded up to 2. So 2 to 6 ratio is a 1 to 3 ratio. Okay, 1 to 3 ratio of grasslands to actual jungle. And then looking at the beaching and or the rocky outcropping, it's only going to be like another, what, like another 2? The southern tip down here is a solid 1.5. And then the mountain by the volcano is another 1, so 2.5. Okay. So, and then we were running off of 6 for the big one, so that's like half again. So it's 1 to 1.5 to 3. Grassland to rock/beach to jungle ratios. Okay, I can work with that. Okay. 60k humanoids, and then this will support thinking back to Jurassic World again, because that was the only like viable iteration before the Indominus. So how many they had? Like a dozen Diplodocus, a couple of Brachiosaur. They still only had the one T-Rex. They had the one Mosasaur, but that wasn't. I feel like the Mosasaur wasn't. She's not a viable candidate for like figuring things out because she was in a man-made lagoon. So I'm not gonna worry about her. So let's go with supports a dozen sauropods. They're the herds of Triceratops and Ankylosaurs. There was only maybe 2 dozen of them total. 2 dozen. Let's go with Ceratopsians. And because like we got to get the different strata there. The sauropods are like the elephants. The Ceratopsians and Ankylosaurs are like your cattle and your buffalo, that sort of thing. There ain't no way to really count the smaller theropods like the Gallimimuses and stuff like that. There's no way to really count them without going deep into the Google. So what? It seems like it would be maybe a 4+ ratio, something like that. So okay. I need my eye to act right. And then, as far as the large carnivores, based on African predator ratios, we're talking maybe a half dozen. Okay. That'll be workable, because we're talking about like a fantasy structure. It's a fantasy structure, so like they'll be able to have magic to like supplement the food sources and things like that. And also they're not really going to be, I feel like they're going to be focusing on the people are going to be focusing on making sure that the transformations themselves, the polymorphs, are actually stable as far as being able to make a reborn breeding population, essentially. Like, we're going to be talking about a very slow rebuilding process. They're going to be running into issues like, oh, we thought that this version of the first children would have like 3 toes. Turns out they need 5 toes, otherwise they end up breaking their metatarsals. You know, whatever. They're going to have like small things like that where they're going to have to rework, because there's not going to be a fossil record. They're not going to be running off of a... Let me write that down before I forget. Not based on fossil record. It's literally just they're coming up with as best they can based on their gods, like, reminders to them. It's not going to be based on any fossil record. There weren't any fossils left over after the godlike apocalypse. So that's a whole other factor as well. They'll have failures that will have to be either reworked or left to die off. And that's going to slow down the process. Okay, so let me leave the science alone for now and get into this. Because I feel like the governmental structure, this group of people is like an offshoot, or like a subsect. They're a subsect of the knowledge god Gynos. They're a subsect of his main, like, following on the mainland continent, which is about the size of Australia. Actually, I finally figured out how big I wanted that to be a few months ago. So their government structure isn't really... Let me get into some of this. So I can, because I got to think this through myself. 1 second, please. This. Oh, come here. Will you? Okay. that was silly. Okay. So y'all get a little bit of a sneak peek here as soon as this decides to load. There we go. A little bit of a sneak peek. The government of Zrail, as it stands, isn't really... I couldn't find a real world similarity. Basically, each of the main 7 gods, the mother god and her 6 children, each of those has a... very, very loosely using the term dynasty. Their families, family names, or archetypes of individuals that these people basically function as the voice of the god or goddess, and they are the head patron or supporter of a specific guild or organization. And so technically there is a queen, the queen of the Jaziri clan. And she's kind of sort of the spokesperson for the whole civilization. So she is the queen of Zrail. But she does not work in solo. Her voice is more just the figurehead voice for the heads of all the families. And so her voice and her face is the main, but she is backed directly and unequivocally by the Lucaran, who is essentially the lord, the like uber general of the military force. The Karanan princes are kind of the traveling troubadours and historians. So they have a prince, but that other getting too off topic. The Portalan are the captains of the fleet. This is where I needed to be. The brothers Numental is essentially the scholarly monastery monks. And the brothers Numental, therefore, brothers is gender neutral in this case. It's more of a title than a gender identifier. Just like princes is not gender specific. It is a title. It is held by both male, female, and non-binary individuals. So the brothers Numental are Gynos's people. So they are scholars. There's a library, which they call the monastery at Ravensclaw, but it's essentially just the library of the continent. And so the people who founded Zoena Sorrow, I don't think we'll actually hit 60k. I want this to be a little more sparse. I'm thinking now, like maybe 45k, maybe that. So the brothers Numental were the founders of Zoena Sorrow, but obviously they've been separated now by time and space. So I feel like the government here would have started off very reminiscent of the mainland, but I feel like they've gone so far and seen that doesn't work with their, like, the way their society was having to develop. So started off emulating mainland Council of 7 dynastics. They would eventually have figured out that wasn't working because they didn't really need the hyper specificity of the different dynasties. Yeah, they would not have needed so much, like, we wouldn't have needed the military faction, the leadership faction, the storytellers, the fleet. We wouldn't have needed that much hyper specificity. So specificity, hyper specificity didn't work in practice. So how would they have turned it around then? I feel like, okay, so I'm talking about knowledge people with a penchant for treating it like a monastery. So they consider knowledge and the keeping of knowledge as the most sacred thing. So thinking about, like, okay, let me go look at this. This is where my brain is going. What is Oxford University's governing structure? Like, how do they do this? So here we go. Congregation is the sovereign body of the university and acts as, so they use a parliamentary structure. All right. Explain. It's been too long since I looked at this. So, legislative. Can I get a flowchart? I would like to see a flowchart. Clear division of response. That's not. No. Okay. How about? Oop. Let's go over here. Okay, so to me this reads as the biggest difference is, okay, so like, sadly, I'm American. So our system is we vote on our parliament, which for us is our Senate and Congress, House of Representatives, and we vote for the president. The president is then as the head of the executive branch, and I'm speaking in general, I'm not speaking about current events. So in general, the president then is responsible as the leader of the executive function. The executive in chief is responsible for filling in the rest of the governing positions, the rest of the executive and or judicial branch. But the parliament is separate and therefore has checks and balances over the presidential office, the executive branch. So parliament is legislative and executive here. Judicial is underneath all of this. So it looks like parliamentary system has the voters voting for their parliament, their Congress, and their Senate, so their legislative bodies. And then the legislative bodies from within themselves divvy out the leadership of government and the leadership of the nation. Why does that sound so much better than what we have over here? Help me. Okay, it's fine. What is over here? Semi-presidential system. Voters elect the parliament and the president. The parliament then has governmental assigning authority. Even that would be better than what we have it right now. God, I hate my country. Okay, let me just get back into fantasy. It doesn't need to be real world. Okay, come on. All right. So the 7-pronged council meshing wouldn't have worked for them. They wouldn't have had enough people. They wouldn't have had the specifics to kind of cover all of that. But they definitely would have still wanted to maintain some sort of a structure, because we are talking about logic dudes who came essentially from a monastic lifestyle. I don't think they would have gone to a single rulership situation, though. They would have stuck with a council type situation. So, what, like maybe a quorum of 3? Does that make sense? I think that does. So scaled down. Quorum of 3. Overseeing. Yeah, they would have done that. So development of land, literally the infrastructure. Development of ritual, the knowledge, and what they were there to do, which was use true polymorph spells to turn people into the first children. Willing participants turn them into replicas of the first children. And then development of people, literally the societal structure. They would have had to have a functioning society. Okay. So, infrastructure. Ritual is, we'll call it scholarship. And people as society. And they would have used this. They're very, very wordy people. They would have assigned it like this. They would have made it like brother overseeing development. Like they would have. That's gonna be a thing. Okay. So that quorum of 3. 3 primary heads of heads of governance. And they would, you know, speak to their, like, underlings and everything. This is I'm living in a utopia in my head. It's fine. What would the rotation be then? It's not going to be, you're in that position for life. So 10-year terms? I think 10-year terms, no re-election. Quorum of 3 voted from within their domains. Yeah, domains. We'll call it that. Okay. And then terms of 10 years, no re-election. Boom. Things I wish could happen in real life. Okay. Because that means that generationally it's going to be changing every couple of re-elections. Yeah, no, that's gonna work. It's logical. It makes sense in my head. It's a theory, and it will work for my fictional people. Okay, so their economy. Economy is gonna be very much a most of these folks are gonna be high-level casters and or very brainy researchers. There's not going to be a lot of need for, like, the leisure arts and things like that. Like, we're not going to need a lot of recreational infrastructure, because nerds. Nerds with their noses in books. Economy is going to be very, I feel like it's not going to be primitive. But, like, I feel like money is not going to be an objective. There's no capitalism here with this. It's literally, they're here to rebuild a race of individual beings that was never allowed to flourish. They're very, like, for the good of all minded. It's going to be very, very communal living, I feel like. Like, of course, they'll have, like, farmers and shit. But, like, the guild mentality that is, I want to be a part of a guild so we all make more money, that's not going to be a thing. It's going to be communal for the purposes of sharing workload more than capitalistic. So, barter economy, for sure. But also, like, communal socialistic, I think. Like, everything is there for everyone, and if no one takes too much, everyone has enough. Very much a communalist utopia. Okay, yeah, everybody. Maybe a little bit like the Orville reputation is our currency. Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be the thing. So that makes life pretty easy. Because any of the specifics, like, is there a tavern with beer? Sure, there's a tavern with beer. There's there's a whole tavern row with, like, a whole bunch of, like, artisanal ales and shit. I don't need the specifics right now. I just need kind of the framework to start getting into the specifics. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm good with it. I'm good with leaving it there for now as far as the economy. I do want to I want to look at this really quickly, because like this is the only thing that I'm not entirely 100% sure on. I know if I do this, it's definitely going to show that I was pinging off of Ixalan as the main inspiration. The problem is I'm having trouble in my head figuring out. It's like, it's a great idea, but how do I go from we're literally true polymorphing people, humanoids, into basically reskinned dinosaurs, the first children? So how does that go wrong to create a vampire? Because true polymorph is very easy. I mean, it's not easy in the sense that it's still a 9th level spell, and it still has a concentration component to make the change permanent. But this is why I'm thinking it's going to be a combination of like high magic and like very specific homebrewed ritual, because the where is it? Here it is. Creature into creature. Any that you choose that has a challenge rating, whatever. That's not a point. There's no size restriction for creature to creature. Huzzah. So the trick becomes, how does that go haywire and become vampiric? How does it turn somebody into a vampire instead? What if they're not humanoid vampires? What if they're not non-avian flightless? Ooh. Originally did not exist, but has since been created by sci-fi. What's this? What is this? Ah, it's a fakey engine. It's a fanfic engine. Okay. I think either that or it's a creepypasta. Is it no? Wait. Yeah. That's all it is it's a creepypasta, or like it's what's the what are the things that populate the back rooms? The what is it called again? The God. What's the anomaly hunters thing, the oh God, what is it called? It's gonna drive me nuts. Creepypasta, creatures, can't remember what is it called? Is it, contain, what is it? Contain... I feel like I'm dancing, I know what I'm trying to find, and I can't... SCP! 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 That's what it is. SCP. I was like, I know it's in here somewhere! Okay, so is Sci-Fi like SCP? The company performs research to recreate extinct animals by creating CGI models based on our current views of extinct animals using DNA of modern animals, blah 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 blah. We have the aim to clone those creatures and expose them in some wildlife preserves as well as theme parks such as Cretaceous. Yeah, okay, so this is basically like if you took the idea of Jurassic Park and merged it with the SCP Foundation. That's what's happening here. Okay, I'm good with that. So what is this? Then talk to me. That's actually alright. Because I feel like this could be a way to do it, is if it's a dino that just didn't Carcharodontosaurus? Carcharodontosaurus? What is that? It's from Ark. I haven't played Ark. I probably should. Alright, talk to me, Sci-Fi fandom. Chirodontosaurus. Theropod. It would be very small. Yeah, I think... What if it ended up something like the, Yuan-ti? What if they were Yuan-ti but vampiric? That could be... Because, like, I already had a thought that, some of the population here would be, like, more, sophisticated lizard folk. As part of, like, the intermediary steps to get to, like, the true dinosaur creatures. So this is one of my homebrew races. I'll deal with that some other day. They're essentially winged humanoids, not like Aarakocra. They're winged humanoids, kind of like ASMR, but like all the time. And they can either have feathered wings or like bat type or dragon type wings. Anywho, Cranial Lizard Folk. Oh my eye. Yeah, I think that's how I will make it happen. Maybe Half-Blood, Rally Song, and then what's the other one here? The Holy Guardians, or the Mage Slayers. Okay, so a couple options there for Naga-esque to just humanoid still. Yeah, I can work with that. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, not a bad world build session. I'm happy with most of this. I may still have some minor tweaking to do, as far as like actually sitting down and trying to like sketch it out. I do use a few different mapping softwares. I haven't used any of them lately. Like I said, most of the main stuff has been done for years. It's just more going back and redoing some of it and expanding some of it, and then developing bits that never got developed before. So yeah, I haven't done any maps lately, but I use a few different map softwares. I'll have to let y'all know how those come out. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So I do appreciate you hanging out with me. I know this was a little more less writing and more just kind of bullet pointing and researching, but everything begins somewhere, and now it's well on its way. Zoena's Sorrow, the island, is well on its way to having some actual meat on its bones. So I appreciate y'all. If you enjoyed this video, you can check out the other videos. They're all going to be linked in a playlist on this channel. Also, I'll be back on my Nasa Does Games channel on both Twitch and YouTube tonight. Probably gonna play some Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. I miss the wraiths. And tomorrow is Saturday. Tomorrow I will only have Stardew Saturday in the middle of the day, noon Central Time. Because I'll be recording podcast with Ninja Spence and crew for Entity Killer Tales. It's a Monster of the Week podcast, so you can find it on Podbean, I believe, is the main place there. So we'll be recording, so I'll be offline for that. And we don't have anything coming from Teen Bonus Action on Sunday, sadly. Everybody's still kind of in the end of school year flux, and things are a little bit chaotic, so no no Darawan with Team Bonus Action Sunday. But I'll be back Monday at same time here, about 4 p.m. Central, for Meandering Mondays, where we'll do another game of Autistic Telephone. If you have any suggestions for my springboard topic for Meandering Mondays, any Meandering Mondays, it doesn't have to be current events right now, it could be something down the line. Leave me a comment or send me a message. I'm also on Blue Sky and Twitter, as you can see to the side over here. So you can find me there, or you can email me at nasadoes@gmail.com. That's what I got. So thank y'all. Drop a like, drop a sub, drop a comment. I don't care. Just don't drop your pants. And I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye.